Welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans, to another very exciting episode of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 101. And surprisingly, I previously thought that the last 101 video that I did was going to be my final 101 video for the entire year of 2022. But luckily for all of us Spidey fans, it looks like Insomniac Games wanted to end off the year right with a final PlayStation blog article, which does break down some very intriguing artistic insights from quite a few Insomniac Games developers who managed to work directly on the recently released comic book variant covers pertaining to Marvel's Spider-Man 2. This is where we saw our first technical look at Peter Parker's design for Marvel's Spider-Man 2 within the variant cover, as well as more detailed looks at Peter's newly updated Advanced Suit 2.0. And while the PlayStation blog does do a great job of breaking down all the artistic backgrounds and inspirations that went into creating each of these comic covers, we are primarily going to analyze one of the main five, because the variant cover that we are going to be looking at here does specifically relate to a comic issue revolving directly around black-suited Spider-Man, where if there was any doubt that the black suit was going to be featured one way or another within Marvel's Spider-Man 2, this recently analyzed variant cover pretty much puts all those doubts to rest once and for all. Where coming from PlayStation directly on Twitter, they went on to state, "Happy 60th anniversary Spider-Man." Insomniac Games designed 5 variant comic covers featuring art inspired by the Marvel Spider-Man game series and the studio's take on the character. Whereas this PlayStation blog was written by the senior community manager over at Insomniac Games himself of Aaron Espinoza, the article does read, "Spider-Man. It's no secret that our team at Insomniac Games loves the character. So we wanted to show up for the webhead's 60th anniversary in a cool way. Q Comics. We collaborated with Marvel to design 5 beyond amazing variant covers featuring art inspired by the Marvel Spider-Man game series, our studio's take on the character. Each cover is accompanied by a blurb from an Insomniac artist sharing info about their inspirations, insight, and love of Spider-Man. These issues have already begun rolling out in the US, with more releasing soon. Check with your local US retailers for availability." So not only is it great that we do have these 5 initial Marvel Spider-Man 2 variant covers to look at as of right now, but we will be receiving even more relatively soon, which I'm definitely sure they will start to market by the time we start getting into the main year of 2023. But above all else, the main comic cover that I wanted to look at here is the one titled Spider-Man: The Lost Hunt. And this cover in particular was designed by Insomniac artist Oliver Fetscher, where if you couldn't already tell from this comic's image, Oliver himself went on to describe it, saying that this cover is a tribute to Web of Spider-Man #1. So that is the main inspiration. That being said, I grew up as a Spider-Man fan in the 1990s and 2000s, and wanted to bring in some of that artistic flavor that inspired me heavily growing up. I have a big love for detailed artwork and strong compositions that tell a story in different layers. And while Oliver does go on to break down what the tools he used to make the cover were and his personal history with Spider-Man, the last section that I'm going to read from this article is where he was asked the question of what makes a great comic book cover. And out of everything Oliver goes on to say, this section right here is easily the most important, highlighting that I think that there can be many different good concepts around what makes a good cover. Sometimes I love very simplistic covers, stylized or old school, but my favorite idea behind a cover is something that generates ideas of what could happen in the issue without telling too much. I am a big fan of mystery, and seeing something that alludes or foreshadows what is to come. Now this obviously doesn't just relate to the fact that the main comic cover that this variant cover was based off on does indeed display black suit Spider-Man front and center, but alongside of this, we also have to look at the contents of what this comic issue involves in general. And speaking of comics, I actually did a video quite a few months ago breaking down my personal top 5 picks of Spider-Man comics that I believe you need to read before playing Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And what do you know, Web of Spider-Man #1 was one of those comics on my list. So seeing Insomniac take some form of inspiration from this particular Spider-Man comic in one way or another is already a great step in the right direction for where the story of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 could go. So if you want to know more about everything that this particular Spider-Man comic entails, details relating to Black Suit Spider-Man, definitely be sure to check that video out if you haven't already. But the short and sweet version that I will say for the context of this video is that this is the comic issue where Spider-Man completely separates from the symbiote, which makes me feel even more confident in thinking that we might end up seeing Insomniac's take on the iconic church bell sequence where Spider-Man completely separates from the symbiote after totally realizing that it is a dangerous alien life form, which we have thoroughly seen be showcased in several forms of Spidey media in the past, like the 90s cartoon, Spectacular Spider-Man, and of course most notably in live action of Spider-Man 3. Especially if you look back at a previous interview that Brian Intihar had back in 2018 after Spider-Man PS4 released, where he immensely stressed the importance of why the Black Suit Spider-Man storyline is such an important narrative for the character of Spider-Man as a whole, and why Insomniac needs to tell that story in their own way.
I think that something like that suit deserves its day in the spotlight. And I think just making it a unlockable suit wouldn't be doing it justice.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best stories for Spider-Man.
Sure.
And I think that it's a complex story. I think that that story needs to be told in the way that Insomniac would tell it.
Hell yeah.
In the end, everybody, this is nothing more than a uniquely designed Spider-Man comic variant cover. But knowing how detailed and well thought out they are with their Easter eggs that they do have for their upcoming games, and clearly knowing that Venom is going to be this game's main antagonist, it's a pretty safe bet to make right now that Black Suit Spider-Man will be featured in the game one way or another. And I, for one, just can't wait to see more of Symbiote Spidey in action. But with all that said, everybody, that's the video I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of all these variant comic covers relating to Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and which one is your personal favorite? Let me know what you think. Be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy, and for more Marvel Spider-Man 2 videos like this in the future, stay spectacular, Spidey fans, and peace out.